A warm welcome to Big Talk. Very much thanks for joining us tonight on the program. There are a whole lot of political issues, but what is really of attention to us tonight is the fact that there is more war in the People's Democratic Party, internal politics, away from the fact that there are those that are calling for Damago to go. In description, the fact that he is an acting chairman, that he has to respect the sub-zoning to the north central. But there are some other governors that are supporting Damagun. All of that is causing a whole lot of concern in the People's Democratic Party. Tonight, I'm being joined by a personal assistant to the governor of Adamawa State, Honorable Leader. Thanks so much for joining us all the way from Yola this evening.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me, and it's a pleasure.
Very well. Give us a proper understanding about what probably is going on in the People's Democratic Party. There are those that will say that the house that is divided, against themselves cannot really stand. And if this is the party that were asking of Nigerians to give them the chance to lead during the 2023 election, how far can we say we can go with the all of the crisis in the aftermath of the election?
Okay, firstly, let me thank you again for inviting me to join you on the program tonight. And let me also quickly say the People's Democratic Party is one party, one indivisible party. I can assure you about that. And what is going on in the party right now is often the usual thing that you expect with party politics. This is the most formidable political party in this country, the party that is more reliable in terms of governance. However, of course, we know there are challenges particularly, especially to do with leadership crisis here and there, interest within the party itself, and sometimes this interest get to clash, and that is what you are seeing. However, I can assure you the PDP, like we love to say, is one happy family. Issues and matters will be resolved over time as the family that we are, and we will move forward afterward, because the PDP is the only party that is poised to change the narrative in this country, that is poised to change and to move the country forward and to make the country better, to govern better. Over the years, we have seen how PDP governed this country, and everybody will agree that during the period of the PDP, the nation was better off. The nation was better governed. The nation fared better than what we've had in the last 8-9 years now and going.
All right, there are those that probably are surprised for the fact that your governor he seems to be backing Damagun, and it looks that is another way with what Atiku probably is looking at. There are those that are probably saying that Damagun is too weak as the acting chairman. He's not taking drastic decision in terms of what the party constitution really say about those who probably commit some level of anti-party affairs. How do you assess your governor giving some more support to the current acting chairman?
Okay. Now, firstly, let me say Ambassador Damagun, His Excellency Ambassador Damagun, the current acting chairman of the party, is a party man. He has been in the party from inception, and a man who has served this party meritoriously and faithfully too. He's been a very, very committed party man who has rose within the rank and file of the party to where he is today. And he comes from the Northeast, where, as you already know, my governor also comes from the geopolitical zone from where my governor comes from. However, let me just mention quickly with regards to supporting Damagun. So far, the governors of the Southwest, particularly the Governor Shea Makinde, who spoke in this regard and said him and Governor Adeleke are solidly behind Damagun. Of course, that was after His Excellency Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State, who is the chairman, the current chairman of the PDP Governors Forum, had spoken to the effect that the constitution of the party is clear on certain issues. The clarity of the constitution is to the fact that when there is a vacancy, when a vacancy exists in the party, replacement, whether that vacancy exists by virtue of, and that's a provision of that section of the Constitution, if you go through Section 47 of the PDP Constitution, whether the vacancy exists as a result of death or as a result of resignation of that officer, a replacement will be found, and the replacement should come from that same zone where the previous individual who had passed comes from. And the argument is very simple. The former chairman of the party, Ayu, is from Benue State, as we all know, and that represents the north central part of the country. And the argument is that, okay, if we are replacing, and you must agree with me, Damagun is on acting capacity as we speak up to now. There's not been a party convention to elect a new chairman. And of course, that is the new call. People are calling the need to regularize issues and to elect a new chairman. And the argument is that, okay, the North Central, which was originally holding this position, that position should be returned to the North Central. And I believe that is what the position of the governor of Bauchi, the chairman of the PDP Governors Forum, is saying. But however, he was quickly met with the rebuttal, so to say, from Governor Sheyi Makinde, who had said that I can assure you the Northeast is behind Damagun. The Northeast is behind Damagun. We are from the Northeast and we will support one of our own. But that is not to say we are prejudiced. That is not to say we are carried away by our emotion. But as long as the party remains and keeps Damagun as acting chairman, we will continue to support Ambassador Damagun for the period. And that is, I believe, the position of my governor in supporting Damagun. You must not also forget, Damagun is quite a very, very personal friend of my governor. He's a personal friend of our state, Adamawa State. Some years ago, when our own party at the state level was in dire crisis and the party was almost falling apart, Damagun was asked to come cheer in acting capacity, just like he's doing at the national level too. He was the acting chairman of the People's Democratic Party in Adamawa State. During that period, he brought sanity back to the party. He brought party faithfuls, party stalwarts, party members back together. And we formed a formidable front that eventually won elections for the party at the time and returned the party to power in the state. And so we believe in the man and his kind of ability, to do what he does if given the opportunity. But however, the short and long of it all is that all these issues will be determined by the leaders of the party. And when the leaders of the party decide whatever direction the party takes, we have party faithfuls, we're party men, and we will fall in line and take that direction also.
Right, Honorable, you can see what is happening in Rivers State. I mean, Rivers State it probably has been in crisis for some months right now. It's almost getting to a year. We are bothered because it looks like it's never gonna end. As we speak, I understand that you're a legal practitioner. You understand what it means for the state to be running without House of Assembly. So there are a whole lot of concern that PDP is not handling the issues of River State well, because it looks like they are gonna lose the state. And you understand the support from every elections prior to 2023 elections. We've always had the PDP are always holding back River State. Are you afraid that with the way things are being handled, that it may look that River State PDP will lose River State?
Well, that's a very good question, and I will approach the question from the political standpoint. I appreciate you acknowledging the fact, and that's true, I'm a legal practitioner. But from the political standpoint of what is happening in Rivers, number one, let me clearly state without any without any fear of favor, that what is happening in Rivers State is a terrible situation. It is a terrible situation and a bad narrative in the democratic process of our country. We wish it was otherwise. We wish it was different from what is going on right now. But the Rivers crisis goes way back since before the election. You remember the current governor of Rivers did not support the presidential candidate of the party during the last presidential election. And of course, his own hand-picked candidate, who is currently the governor, became governor. Now, I will not delve into what went wrong and how it all went down and why the love fell apart and why the crisis came. But like you rightly mentioned, the situation where the State House of Assembly is almost non-existent is a clear threat to democracy, is a clear danger that I wish not only the PDP as a party, but the nation itself and its leadership should rise to the occasion. But you see, truth be told, that there are people who profit from this situation, from this bad situation. There are people who are happy about it because they're sowing seeds of discord, they're sowing crisis, they're sowing disagreement, and they're tearing the party apart. There are people who argue this is going on because the party that is the leadership at the national level wants to take over River State eventually going forward. Because sometimes you wonder and you find there is almost no reason, no explanation that is reasonable enough to convince you of what is going on in Rivers, whether it is based on principles. No, I think it is practically based on personal interest. It is something that everybody is doing to capture power. Various interests is in Rivers to capture power. And again, I'll go back to our earlier discussion where the PDP governors had also stated clearly, they said they were endorsing the fact that the constitution of the party recognizes the governors in various states under the party as leaders of the party. And I believe that is a position of the law, that is a position of the Constitution, and the Constitution is the law that governs and guides party. And until you change that, even if you're not comfortable, even if you're not, you don't feel good about it, you don't like it, until that position changes, because that has been the trend, that has been what had been obtainable over time, and that remains. And so the governors have now thrown their weight, as you know, behind His Excellency Fubara, the governor of Rivers State, as against his political godfather, who is still in the PDP, honestly, even though serving under the APC government at the national level, talking about the FCT minister and all of that. But like I mentioned earlier, I am from Adamawa State and not from Rivers. I know there are some of the details, the nitty-gritty of what transpired, what went on, what went wrong, that I may not be fully aware of. It will be dependent on what I might say will only depend on what I hear and what I read on the pages of newspapers, or what I watch and I hear
All right,
from.
I understand. All right.
Yes, sir.
I mean, we can't really exhaust because if we cannot do without issues in Rivers State, because all of the crisis in the PDP today has a whole lot to do with the politics in Rivers State. Because those that will tell you the governor is meant to be the leader of the party in Rivers, but it happens that it's another way around. But since you said you don't want to comment on that because you are not an indigene of Rivers State, let's get to the concern. There are about many factions in the People's Democratic Party as we stand now. I understand the move by Damagu and the National Working Committee to resolve all the internal crises. They have set up a reconciliatory committee, all of those committees to be able to checkmate the outcome of 2023 election and how they can resolve the issues ahead of time, to get the party stronger. But there are those that will tell you that Atiku Abubakar has caused more division in the party. That probably he was never there in 2015 to build the party. They were concerned of the fact that he just returned back to the People's Democratic Party, clinched a ticket, and in a way, he divided the party. He divided the party in the sense that if they had probably understood that a northerner had ended his tenure in office as the president, they would have respected the zoning to allow it to go to the north. What is your assessment about that comment where people feel that Atiku Abubakar is one of those behind the division we have in People's Democratic Party?
Oh, well, number one, let me be very straight with this question. Atiku Abubakar is a unifier, like he calls himself. I do not believe. I do not believe. that he divides the party. Of course, he has his own interests, and that interest will definitely come in conflict with the interests of other leaders of the party. And sometimes that is how party politics works. But you cannot, in all fairness to the man, say the man has been the factor that brings division to the party. If anything, I think we can give him credit for the fact that he had been one of the people who had rallied the leaders of the party more, or tried to bring the party together as much as possible. I know there are differences, and those differences are tampered by interest and all of that. Now, talking about the zoning arrangement, which a lot of people up to today in this country argued that was the reason why PDP failed and could not succeed in the last election. I am also not sure that is the point. I am not a supporter of that line of narration, to be very honest with you, as a party. And now speaking for myself as an individual. At the time that decision was taken, it was a decision that was taken in consideration of this agitation at the time, whether the party zoning arrangement, which is a gentleman's arrangement, the zoning arrangement should go to the south. And governors had discussed that. But you remember that a committee was set up, and that committee that was set up to look at the possibilities. Number one, the party needed to return to power. The party did not have power, and we were talking about power sharing. And the committee, in their wisdom, said, okay, you cannot share what you do not even have. We do not have power. All we need right now is somebody who can get power for us to return to power, and we can then settle down again to our gentleman's agreement and how to share that power. Therefore, we should not disenfranchise anybody or any zone at all in terms of zoning the presidency, because we do not even have the presidency. And it was that committee, it was that high-powered committee that agreed that everybody, that the zoning arrangement should be jettisoned, and everybody who is interested should come out and run for the presidency. And people came out, and we are all witnesses what took place at the National Stadium in Abuja, when, of course, the major contenders, the two front runners, the current FCT minister and Atiku Abubakar. And Atiku Abubakar emerged. He emerged. Now, the next question and the next argument had been that, okay, the constitution of the party say the president of the party, the president under the party cannot come from the same zone with the chairman of the party. So the next argument was for the chairman of the party to be removed. The chairman of the party who is from the same geopolitical zone, basically the north, with the president. Now, another argument was that, okay, the constitution said the president. Right now we have a flag bearer. Now you can say that is going into technicalities. We have a flag bearer. We do not have a president yet. And so the onus, the burden lies on the chairman to now feel like, okay, I feel this is a hard cry of members of the party, so let me step aside. Unless he does that, nobody can remove him. The only way he can be removed is when elections are over and our party emerges victorious and the president emerges from our party. And then that will clearly show that the constitution says the president and the chairman of the party cannot come from the same zone. That was another line of argument that people put forward. Now, all of that, to me, is also a function of wisdom. If party leaders had tampered all these arrangements, all these decisions, all these interests with wisdom, knowing fully well what the party was up against, what we were coming against and going against, maybe that would have helped us. But that did not work, and you could see that was what part of the reason why 5 sitting governors under the party pulled out of the arrangement. They call themselves the G5, and today it is all history. We lost that election, of course, but I will not, in all honesty, subscribe to the fact that Atiku is a divider. He did not. It was the decision of the party. And I remember very well, in all fairness to Atiku Abubakar at the time, I remember he kept saying, if the party decides on which zone should produce the presidential candidate of the party, he will honor it. He will obey it. But one of the things he said is that the Northeast, all right, the Northeast is one of the zones that have not produced, and then the South, These are the zones that have not produced flag bearer for or the presidency since then. So he argued that these are the zones that should be put into consideration. So if we're taking it to the south, it should now be south-south. All right.
Southeast.
No, southeast. I beg your pardon.
Southeast, rather, yes.
Southeast. Southeast, yes. It should be southeast. And then some people got afraid. And that fear, they now say, oh, well, let's just throw this open. Let's throw it open to everybody. And it was thrown open. Atiku contested. Now, I know people have argued that Atiku was not around after the 2015 election
Exactly.
to build the party. Atiku has also argued that he returned to school. He went back to further education and got his master's degree and all of that. But I also
But yeah, backed up the former president.
Yes. He had back. Remember, he was in the APC. He had moved from the PDP and gone to the APC. They were part of the people who had abandoned the then president, Goodluck Jonathan. That's the truth. They abandoned him and he joined the APC. They were part of the PDP, the new PDP as they called it that time. And they moved and joined forces with the people. But sooner than too long, he fell out of love, out of favor with those people too, and I guess he steps back into the PDP, back home, you could call that, and he came back, and since then he has been a very faithful, dogged fighter for the party, a man who has also worked with the whole of his heart, and has also had his own share. At least he was consecutively 2 times the presidential flag bearer of the party. He was in 2019 and he was in 2023. I think he has had his own fair share of the party's trust and consideration.
All right, there are a whole lot of interaction because when you look at all of these crises in the party, it looks at the interest of 2027 has also been a concern. There are those that are not just about after Damagu going, that those are also plotting to take charge of the party so as to secure the ticket of the 2027. Do you likely, because we lose, when you look at the statistics of Labour Party supporters, Peter Obi left your party to Labour Party, and that those that will tell you that PDP also lost because of the obedient movement, the Labour Party emergence. Probably if Peter Obi was considered in your party, it would have been a justice done. But I mean, we do not want to dwell on the issues that determine that factor. Do you feel that the current merging options that is quite available right now, where we've seen a lot of interactions and people trying to convince others just to be able to make some merging ahead of the 2027 election, do you feel that is workable to unseat the current government? Because President Bola Tinubu, APC seems strong. He's still in charge of the leader of the APC, and it seems APC are stronger.
Oh, well, the issue, let me start with the issue of His Excellency Peter Obi, a gentleman indeed, a gentleman to the core. He was the vice presidential aspirant, vice presidential candidate of the PDP in the 2019 election, as you know. And coming into the 2023 election, he was still in the PDP, as a matter of fact. As a matter of fact, he had purchased his forms to contest for the presidency, and then shortly he abandoned that. And I can tell you, truth is, there were internal infighting, underground fighting and frustrations against him that mainly came from some of the people who are leaders of the party today, who are being respected as leaders of the party. They forced him out of the party. They forced him out of the party, and the man moved to find other platforms. Some of his supporters encouraged him to go find other platforms. But let me also tell you the truth. During that period, before he left, the permutation, and I am aware of some of these facts, the permutation was then to present the same ticket that was presented against Buhari in 2019, to present an Atiku Obi ticket. So many people say Obi was not patient. Perhaps that was why he quickly moved out. But then that movement, to a large extent, I agree with you again, was part of the pain and part of the reason why we largely lost that election, because Peter Obi comes with the followership of young Nigerians, with the support of very vibrant intellectually mobile, to borrow the words of the distinguished Senator Dino Melai. Intellectually mobile young Nigerians favor Peter Obi in that regard. And over 6 million votes cannot be taken for granted, cannot be taken for jokes. That was what His Excellency Peter Obi got. So I believe, I agree with you that perhaps, and I agree with those people who have this argument that perhaps if Peter Obi had remained in the fold of the PDP, if he had remained with us and we had put forces together, he had put forces together with the leaders, then we would have won. What if he had remained and had become the vice presidential nominee as it was in 2019? That would have just been the biggest opportunity. And so now the argument is that, okay, what do we do to unseat the sitting government, just like what they did also to unseat the government of His Excellency Goodluck Jonathan at the time? What we need to do is to come together and form another merger. Now, I'm not a fan of merger. I'm not really a fan of merger. But I believe that smaller parties who sometimes get to divide these votes, who knew, they were very, very sure that it is very obvious we cannot win a presidential election with a party that does not even have structure in all the state capitals of the country. The state capitals, I said, not the 774 local government headquarters, not to talk about the wards across the country, and not to talk about the units. How can you win election? You do not have structure. We always talk about this. And of course, I know the obedient movement had challenged us and told us at the time that they will win without structure. That they were ready to win. They can win without structure. But we told them politics is scientific now. It is something you can calculate. It is something you can come. So if our leaders want to come together to march, I believe it is okay to bring all political parties. I know there have been meetings between His Excellency Atiku Abubakar, His Excellency Peter Obi, His Excellency Rabi Musa Kwankwaso, and some other party leaders in that direction. But I think there is more that needs to be done than just those meetings, than just the news and the stories of Maja coming together. We must see a real commitment. We must see seriousness with the commitment, because each time they have those meetings, and after a short while, you hear the leaders, everybody given different positions, different interviews, different opinions about things and about issues. And so I think there will be more seriousness if we really, and this is 2024, 2027 is just around the corner in politics. 2027 is not a long time. And if the leaders really want to do that and to unseat the sitting government at the moment, then we need to close up ranks. We need to close up our various divergent interests and take the interest of Nigeria as a country and its people and say, okay, in our effort to salvage this nation, in our effort to relieve the citizens of this nation from the strangulating situation they found themselves in economically, security-wise, and so on and so forth.
All
The
right.
nation is under siege. So
Do you
leaders,
feel, because I understand you about going to the many issues in the country, do you feel that PDP would have done it better in terms of how President Tinubu is handling the situation right now?
oh, PDP would have done certainly better. Under the PDP, we had only one challenge, and that challenge was Boko Haram. That was only localized around the northeast. It was a northeast problem, and even in the northeast, I can assure you, it was a problem that was basically within two states, and that is the state of Borno and Yobe. Part of it trickled into the northern part of Adamawa State, and PDP was able to contain it within that area. Well, under Jonathan. As a matter of fact, remember, this did not start under Jonathan. It started under Yaradua. And Yaradua asked that it should be crushed at once. And it was crushed. That is the truth. When Jonathan came, after the demise of Yaradua, they began to rear their ugly head again. And in all fairness to President Jonathan, with all the emotions that was attached to the issues, instead of looking at the facts and treating them the way they are, with all the emotions that were attached, with all the sentiments that were attached to the issue, he maintained and made sure it did not escalate beyond that. But since the coming of the current party in government, you all know since 2015 to this moment how this country has become a theater of war. there's no state of the Federation today that is not militarized. There is no state of the Federation today that is no one military operation or the other. The entire North is it's either the Boko Haram that is still there, even after the current government had promised us that they would end Boko Haram in 6 months. We still have Boko Haram 9 years after they have been in power. Other forms of insecurity reared their ugly head, whether it was farmers and herders clashes across the northern part of the country, whether it was bandits that are now becoming authorities of their own across especially northwest and parts of north central, whether it is kidnappers, whether it is unknown gunmen. These were all terminologies that was under this administration, under the leadership of this current party that is in power, that we all knew about them. Whether it was bandit, it was unknown gunmen, it was all forms of kidnapping here and there. It was never there under the PDP. So in fairness to the PDP, you can give PDP a pass on that, and you can say PDP had been a better government in maintaining the security and well-being of this country, which, as a matter of fact, is the hallmark, the number one constitutional reason for governance. Government is to provide security of lives and properties, and that is the number one. So I can tell you that confidently, without missing words, that PDP would have been a better party if we were in power. The security situation in the country. Look at how Yaradua during his time sorted out the Niger Delta crisis. Look at how I was under the PDP. The Niger Delta, at the point we all thought was going to go in flames. We all thought it was the Niger Delta crisis that was going to break this country into crisis, that was going to bring an end to the prophecy that some people said this country was going to end, was going to divide, was going to. But under the PDP, we were able to manage the situation and bring that militancy to logical. If that Niger Delta was under this current political party that is in power, I assure you, I cannot imagine.
So you feel that there would have been a whole lot of differences, because those will tell you that it's just a global challenge, that the hardship is not just peculiar to Nigeria, it's the global challenge confronting many nations today.
And I agree with you. There are global challenges in insecurity, global challenges in economy. But then, purposeful and serious governments have also been able to minimize the impact and the effect of some of these challenges to their people and their citizens, to their nations. But in a situation where the global challenge comes and our leaders are completely lacking in ideas, in what to do and how to do it, what would you say? It's a global trend. I agree. There are wars today across the Middle East, in Ukraine, Russia and Ukraine, and all of that. So there are insurgencies around certain African countries also, especially those of them that are around the West African sub-region and all of that. But leadership has been able to minimize to a BRS minimum those situations. Our own leadership, just a few days ago, the erudite retired General Anjuma had to make a very clarion call on the Nigerian military to please, by all means, end this situation. Whatever it is, the politics that's been injected into this, the sentiments that have been injected into this, the emotions that have been injected into this, and the business as well that has been injected into this must be stopped. And we must end this. And we must be serious people and be a serious country, for crying out loud. That is what it should
Thanks
be.
so much.
I believe the people have done well. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Honorable Leader, Principal Special Assistant to the Governor of Adamawa State on Legal Affairs. Thanks so much for joining us and sparing some of your time all the way from Yola in Adamawa State with us. We deeply appreciate the time tonight.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor and a pleasure to be with you.
All right, we'll see you again. Hello, everyone. It looks more that election tomorrow in Edo State, it's quite very intense. And probably these are the factors that are shaping tomorrow's exercise. That eligible voters in Edo State will go to the polls tomorrow to elect a new governor that will take over from the incumbent governor, Obaseki, who will complete his statutory 8-year tenure by November 12, 2024. The campaigns have been intense in Edo State with a whole lot of factors that may swing the victories in their favor, as well as their strength and weakness in a fierce contest. And the political atmosphere in Edo State is reaching a very feverish pitch. The frenzy is on the typical of election in Nigeria, as electioneering has always been characterized by the usual carpet crossing, alignment and realignment, horse trading, and violence. And no doubt the election is a three-horse race, but this particular contest is peculiar in several ways. The rival between PDP, the governing party in the Edo State, and APC, the party in charge at the national level, is more of a status and influence contest between two former allies, Governor Godwin Obaseki and his predecessor, Comrade Adams Oshimole, now a senator. And before the dual party wars, there were political bedfellows such that against all the protestation, Oshimole, as the outgoing governor in 2016, ensured that Obaseki, who then was a political neophyte, became the governor of the state on the platform of APC. But after the inauguration, the honeymoon between him and his then benefactor, Oshimole, was over. Their Saturday's election will rekindle the rival between the duo, which began in 2019 when 14 elected state lawmakers loyal to Oshimole were prevented from being sworn in as member of the House of Assembly, a situation that was orchestrated by Obaseki. All of these are the concern. The candidate of Labour Party is still very poised to take advantage of the numerical strength of the zone he hails from. They are also candidate of the APC is also strong, a strong factor that must determine that tomorrow's election. All of this is just as the people of Edo march out with their PVCs to the different polling units with a lot of observers on ground to monitor the situation in Edo State. We wish the people of Edo a happy electioneering day and good luck to all the candidates. And that's the size of our program, Big Talk Tonight. Of course, looking forward again, getting more reactions in terms of the political development in the country and bringing you to speed with it. My name is Idika Michael. Thanks so much for joining us tonight on the program. May God bless Nigeria.